All right, Wes, you remember this tree?
I do. It was a pretty warm day when we planted it about a year ago.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to assess the tree for us?
Yeah. First of all, for those that don't remember, this is a golden rain tree. And it was, I think I stated when we first planted it that we rescued it.
Yes, we did.
It was one lost in inventory at whatever nursery that you got it from, and it was bound up in a container.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I thought it was a nice challenge to make sure that this tree survived when we planted it. So we took it out of the container, we opened up the girdling roots that was in it, and then we planted it into the ground and mulched it and everything. And I'm glad it survived.
Yeah, it survived.
For such a young tree to be subjected to the climate, you know, in our hot Memphis weather, it's done really well. Understand it didn't flower last year, which is fine. It really didn't anticipate it. And after looking at it, right now the leaves look kind of weak, but they're fixing. They're getting ready to drop off for the winter. And the amount of foliage that is on it has really done its job. For those that don't know, the leaves are the food source and the energy producers of any tree. And I'm happy to see that this tree survived.
So photosynthesis is happening.
Photosynthesis is happening, yay. And I've noticed that we've got 1, 2, 3 stems that have died back on it. And I'm not surprised at that. And
why do you think that is?
It's we took it out of a nursery environment. It was probably shaded, I'm going to assume. And we brought it out here and we put it directly in the elements where it belongs. And in nature, the strong survive. And I believe next year that when we come out and look at this tree again, that we're going to see that it's even gotten larger. This tree did grow this year. That's a plus. I'm glad to see it. I think we should prune out these dead stems that are on it. And when you have a tree in this situation, less is better. So the less that we do to this tree, the better off it's going to be. We're going to let it nature take its course, and the strong will survive. So I'm going to take my pruners out and prune out these dead branches here. And I will not cut out any green whatsoever. Where I'm pruning this at is at a node, and that's a point of where the buds start to grow. So hopefully when we prune, I'm going to leave a little dead stub right there just for the sake of this dead stub is on top of the branch. So leaving it there, a short stub is going to help that compartmentalize a little better on top. There's one more right here. Boom, there we go. Done with the pruning. We have a branch right here that is obviously not in the right spot. As this tree grows, this little stem right here could potentially start rubbing against the trunk of this tree and cause a wound, but that's to be dealt with later.
So we'll leave that for now.
Right now, it's got leaves on it. We're going to let it continue to produce energy for the tree. Now, when I say producing energy with a tree or plant, going through the photosynthesis process and producing energy, it is not for this year's growth. It's for next year. It's like filling up an extra spare tank on your automobile. So, which is a good deal, right? It's a good deal. So the more energy that it produces, the happier this tree is going to be next year. Now, what I'm also surprised to see that we still have some dirt mounded up around the base of the tree here. That's good. With this incline, I think we talked about it before. I was concerned about the water just flowing off the top of the ground and going down, just following the gravity and taking some of the soil away. But apparently, it's done well.
I think it held up pretty good.
It held up really good. One of the contributors to that is going to be this grass that's growing around it. You know, grass and trees usually don't mix. It's because most grasses don't grow in the shade. I don't think this tree is ever going to be a problem to the grass right here. We do need to keep the grass away, you know, to prevent it from growing around the base of the tree, because that means that you're going to have to do maintenance around the base of the tree, which could cause damage created by weed eaters or lawnmowers bumping in and taking the bark off.
And you've probably seen a lot of that type of damage, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I see it more on golf courses and yards where they hire the landscape companies to come in and mow the grass, and these guys are running through there. They're doing their job. They may not know that they're causing damage to that tree. And also, you'll notice that we don't have any mulch down here. that doesn't bother me either. The mulch, it probably should have a little bit of mulch this winter, but just enough to prevent this grass from growing through here.
Okay. Get that
like
old
this,
Bermuda.
Get the Bermuda from growing in there, and it'll help maintain some of the moisture and keep the roots from drying up over the winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about watering? Because we kind of went through a drought-like period earlier.
Yeah.
Last month, so.
Yes. In our Memphis soils, in other cities, but we're in Memphis.
Okay.
Our soils are compacted, meaning that the air, water, nutrient space has been, as the word says, compacted. Okay. And so there's not a lot of space in there for that water to percolate through.
Right.
And the water, like on this incline, will run right off the top of the soil and not penetrate through the deep enough to the tree's root system. We on the average, tree roots go maybe 8, 10, in some cases 12 inches deep. Okay. At the most.
At the most, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But you'll see our storms blow trees over and the roots are just like a few inches. Yeah. That's from the compacted soil. Okay. Now, this is a Ross deep root water. You connect the water hose to it, and it has 4 holes at the base, and the water comes out in 4 directions. And when you're watering, you can pick this up at Dan West. You may have to order it, but it's like $35. It's well worth it. I use it on my own trees. Okay. When you want to get water down to the root system, you attach your water to it. Even if your soil's compacted, that water is going to be coming out and softening up that dirt.
So it can get down through the ground. Okay.
And I see I've hit rock already. Yeah, I remember that rock. And there's our plant to go. And you can go down like so and let that water run a few minutes, pick it up, move it around. Okay. A tree this small, you could just do 4 corners and it would penetrate through there.
Now again, how long would you let the water run for a tree this size?
I'd go count maybe to 20 seconds and then go to another hole. I like the grid pattern, meaning that you just go in a grid. For a larger tree, for a tree this size, you could just go around like so. Okay. All right. Maybe once, twice a week, maybe.
Twice a week. Okay. And while we have a little time, Wes, do we need to consider fertilizing or anything as we go into the winter?
Not on this one, not just yet. Okay. This tree needs to gain a root system. Okay. Before you start adding fertilizers and too much water. It has to have the ability to absorb what you put down there. So you could add too much fertilizer, and depending on what type you use, whether it's triple 13, which is held together by salt, that nitrogen is held together by salt, and you could potentially burn the roots of the tree, and in trying to help the tree, you're actually causing it more harm. Okay. So I would stick with just water right now.
Stick with water.
If you want to put anything down, put some Miracle-Gro. Okay. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Yeah. Put some mulch on it, we'll be fine. Yeah. Wes, we appreciate this assessment of our tree here. Thank you much.
Thank you.